Hi, friends. Happy Monday. It is the grossest day ever in Pensacola. It is gray and dark and raining. Hi. So it's basically the perfect day to celebrate National Journaling Day. Because I don't know about you, when it's like this outside, I just want to get my jammies on, get under a blanket, and do some journaling. But I can't today because I have to work. I'm really excited to do this with you guys, though. My shirt's from Target. Oh, dear. I didn't think about doing this Instagram Live when I wore a shirt that is striped because now your comments show up on my stripes. The shirt's from Target. I actually just got it. It's got really cute buttons down the back. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about my new guided journal, The Standard of Grace. If you loved Grace Not Perfection, then I hope that you'll check this out because this is a sister book to Grace Not Perfection. It was written all along the same concept of how, as women, we are constantly holding ourselves to standards that are completely impossible. We're constantly measuring ourselves up to things that we feel like other people are obtaining, reaching. We're constantly holding ourselves to standards that are just crazy, right? And we feel like everyone else in the world is doing life better than we are, right? When I actually created the Simplified planner and when the idea of Grace Not Perfection, they were kind of born around the same time. I distinctly remember this morning where I was a graphic designer and I was in my house and I had this new baby, and I loved this baby dearly, and I loved this job that I had dearly, and I just had a lot of things going on, and I just really wanted to do them all well. And I remember walking around my house and looking around and being like, why is it that everyone I know, my girlfriends in real life, my family members, my people I followed on, at the time it was Facebook, I don't think Instagram was out yet, everyone I know has dinner on the table at 6:00 and perfect hair and wears heels all the time, and their homes are spotless, and everything I see of them is their happy-go-lucky times with their family where everyone's behaving and no one has oatmeal on their face, and I I can't keep it together. I'm just overwhelmed. And that's when, in a moment of I remember this moment. Do you have those moments in your lives where you can replay them and you can put yourself right back there? I remember being in not our last house, but the house before that. It was our first home. And I remember being in that house and being I'm so done. I'm so sick and tired of the world telling me who I have to be. And I'm so sick and tired of holding myself to this impossible standard that somebody out there set for me. And I'm going to hold myself to a standard of grace, not perfection, because that's all God calls me to do. And I remember stopping and being yes. I remember thinking that, yeah, why? And then all of a sudden, it all felt it felt very heavy before that, and all of a sudden it felt very light, if that makes sense. It felt very why in the world are you pushing yourself so hard? For what? So that you can prove to every girl you know, to every woman, that you're that girl? Because I don't think, they might not be feeling like they're perfect either. So anyways, I remember immediately having some conversations with girlfriends where they were all oh, yeah, I feel the same way. And I was but wait, you're the girl with the perfect hair and the dinner on the table. And they're yeah, that's just what I post on the internet. And the whole concept just has become an underlying theme of everything we do here at Simplified and every book I've ever written, that we have this standard that we're holding ourselves to that's impossible. So we are going to kick off National Journaling Day, which is today, and thank you, God, for the incredibly perfect journaling weather, because there's nothing I want to do more right now than dive into this book. This book is so special to me because it was born out of Grace Not Perfection. So if you've read what I lovingly call my hot pink book, Grace Not Perfection is my story. It's my heart. I share a lot of stuff in there that just I've been through in life, and things I've struggled with trying to have it all together and trying to have, trying to reach that perfectionism. And that it's something I still deal with because I still want to always have, I want you all to know that like I have it all together. I make planners for a living, so it's the way it should be, but it's not. Like, I struggle like anybody else, and I get to places sometimes where I'm like, like, everyone has it all together, and I don't. And I want to tell you the way that we're going to do this. So we're going to do 4 weeks of journaling, and we are going to be messy and raw, and we're going to write down the hard things, because when you put words onto paper, you give them freedom from your brain, from your soul. You are going to say the hard thing, and you're going to put it on paper, because ain't nobody going to be reading your journal. Put this thing in a place where it's private, and you do not have to share your answer with anyone. I'm gonna keep these Instagram lives kind of short. We're gonna keep them, we're gonna try to keep them under 30 minutes. But I have not looked. I mean, I wrote the thing, but I can't remember what week 1 is. So we are gonna. I'm not gonna look at it because I don't want to prepare. I want to do this with you guys and open the page and give you the raw answers from my own life. And I won't wear a striped shirt next time so I can see your comments. All right. Also, I have no spot in my house with good light, so we're going to sit in the kitchen. Okay, guys, let's open to page 1. In this book, so just some logistical things. You can get this book everywhere that books are sold, which means Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. I think it's at Walmart. That's cool. Target actually released it a few months ago. The name of the book is A Standard of Grace. And Amazon, Lifeway, I mean, there's all the places. So if you go to my stories and swipe up, you can find all of the links to everywhere that it's sold. On page 5, there is a little note from me about the definition of grace, right? So what does that mean? And how are we using it in this context? I'm not going to read it to you. You can go and read it later. All right. Week 1. I'm going to read this to you, and then we're going to discuss, okay? So week 1 is abundant grace. And the quote that we've used here is, I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. And that's John 10:10. God cares about us abiding by his commandments and loving big, feeling deeply alive and free from the traps of perfection and comparison. And that's exactly what those things are. They're traps. He's watching us scurry about saying, sweet girls, why are you so hard on yourselves? All of this worry and busyness is for what? I've given you all you need. It's funny. Isn't it funny that like God just puts things in your lap and you're like, oh, needed that. I wrote that, but I also needed it because we had a busy week last week with launch week. And this weekend I was like, okay, get the house done, get the groceries done, get the things done, get the things put away. But also like I could hear God in the back of my head saying, take a nap. Take a nap. You need to take care of yourself. Why are you trying so hard? You do not have to have it all together this weekend. You just poured yourself out for 7 days, and you need to take a nap. And so I took a nap, and the rest of it could wait, right? I don't exactly know what we're having for dinner tonight, but I took a really, really good nap yesterday, and that was nice. So the prompt here that we are going to chat through, and I would love to hear your thoughts if you are comfortable sharing them. If you are not, don't. You can write them down, and you don't have to share them with anybody. That's the beauty of a journal. Where did you get the idea that you had to be put together in every area of your life? Who defined perfection for you? I opened Grace Not Perfection with this very thought. Because I fully believe, and we talked about this in all of our Facebook Lives that we did during launch week for our Simplified planners, the world, like the quote-unquote world, is telling us what the good life looks like. The world is telling us that unless you are not checking box X, Y, and Z, you are not quote-unquote living the good life. What does the good life look like for you? That's not one of the prompts, but you can write that down. Where did you get the idea that you had to be put together in every area of your life, right? And who defined perfection for you? I think that there are healthy standards that people have exemplified and modeled for us. And I think that there are unhealthy examples. I'll just answer it for you because I don't mind sharing it all. Unhealthy examples, I have friends, and I will say when I wrote Grace Not Perfection, I had friends in my life that were exemplifying it for me, and I'm not as close to them anymore. But there are friends that have exemplified that to me, and the highlight reel that is social media is that to me. I fall into it too, where I'm scrolling social media and I will see other people post things and I'm like, do her kids ever cry, or is it just mine that cry? Am I the only one that has a hard morning sometimes? Are mornings difficult just for our family, or I don't know. And that's why I did a big social media unfollow. I mean, I unfollowed a ton of people, but not because there's anything wrong with them, just because I had issues in my own heart that I didn't want to feel weird anymore. And throughout my life have allowed other people to tell me that the good life looks perfect. The good life means that at any point someone could walk into my home and it is spotless. And I still deal with that. I mean, every morning I want my home to be like perfectly put together and spotless. Does that ever happen? Not often. But I struggle with the idea that it always has to look that way and it can't be like lived in. And so I have to like make myself stop and sit down and stop picking up constantly. I have to make myself define what good looks like as opposed to perfect, right? So those are some unhealthy examples. Some healthy examples of a better standard would be my mom. My Nana, as many of you know her, she was a working mom with 2 kids and a husband, and we didn't have like a fancy life, but we had everything we needed. And we were very fortunate, looking back, to have, my brother and I were very fortunate to have parents who were like, dinner at the table matters. Like, we may not go on fancy vacations all over the place, but like, we have picnics. You know what I mean? Like, my mom set a standard for me that was healthy. And she said to me, like, these are the things that matter, and you don't have to let the other things matter more. Now, obviously, I, still struggle with letting other people define perfection for me, but I always have that to go back to of like, my mom set a really good example for me. So when I get off track, all I have to do is look to her, and man, it is pouring outside. All I have to do is look to her and think like, what would Nana do? Right? So I think it's important for us to have healthy examples of a better standard. I don't want to call it perfection because I think perfection is silly, but like, I think that, oh my gosh, you guys, it's so loud. It's pouring down rain outside and lightning. But I often have to check my heart and say like, why are you constantly picking up the house? Are you constantly picking up the house because it supports the family structure inside the home? Or are you constantly picking up the house because you want it to be perfect? And a lot of times, it's just, I just really want it to be perfect, right? Bearing my soul again. Can you guys hear it? It's so loud. Trade you snow for rain. Nope. All right, you guys. So I want to hear, I think you guys answered this a minute ago, but I was on a roll and my shirt is striped and it was hard to read your answers. So I would love to hear, who set the good standard for you? Like, is there someone in your life that you look to and think, like, they're a healthy standard? They allow grace into your life, into their lives. They are authentic and real, right? Yeah. How do I find a good example? I can't see it, anyone in my circle. It's hard, to be honest. I think finding a really good friend who allows you to be yourself and who's honest about their own life. Their life doesn't have to be put together to be a good example for you, but someone who just models the right values. You know what I mean? That's why I love this Simplified community so much. So I've just connected with so many people who are so willing to share their ups and downs and the tips and tricks on like how they navigate it, right? And that's part of the reason why we get so tactical here at Simplified, is because we and I can tell you some people to follow, by the way. I'm going to pause your comments so I can catch up a little bit. But I'm getting off track now because I have so many thoughts and feelings on this. Sally Clarkson, if you are not following Sally Clarkson, she is a grandmother and she is so wise. Like, she's just wise. And I have been fortunate enough to develop a friendship with her, and she messages me sometimes when she can tell that I'm pushing hard and working hard and in a busy season, and she will message me and say, just wanted you to know I'm praying for you, and I'm praying for your endurance, and I'm praying for your strength, and I'm praying that God will fill you with wisdom as you share these things with your community. And it blesses my heart in such a way. And I read her books and I look at her life and I think, she's not disconnected from the stuff that matters. And that's an example for me. Her life may look way different than mine. She lives across the pond. I mean, she doesn't even live here in the United States. But I look to her, and I look to her values and the choices she makes as an example for me. So if you're not following Sally Clarkson, you should. She's amazing. Okay. I have a friend whose house is beautiful, but when you go over, she always has dishes on the counter and is unapologetic about it. And I love that. I totally agree. I remember going to a friend's house about a year ago, and when I walked in, I was like, oh, there was like kids' artwork everywhere, and there was like a fish tank in one corner, and there was like toys, and it was well organized, but it was lived in. There were pictures, and it was just a home that was full of life and full of family and full of things that when you looked around, you're like, this is good. This is good. It was not a fancy house. It was just a house that was lived in. And that has been a good standard for me lately, to be like, okay, we just moved into this house, live in it. Let it be messy. Put your, kids' artwork up everywhere. Let the shoe baskets be on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, embrace the life that happens in your home. I will try to save this video somewhere. It'll disappear in 24 hours because we're on Instagram, but I'll see what I can do, if I can get it on Instagram TV or something. I think I can save it. Okay, let me scroll to where your comments are. Yes. Okay, guys, so the last piece of this particular week's journaling, perfect doesn't always equal worthy. Amen. And then in the space below, so I flip to the next page, in the space below, write a description of the standard you're holding yourself to. What do you expect of yourself on a daily basis? And this is not like the revamped standard that we're going to try to reach from now on, the one that's full of grace and all of that. This is the real deal. Like, what standard are you holding yourself to? What do you expect from yourself on a daily basis? Write down the unhealthy. Like, write down whatever it is, the real, the raw. And I would love to hear your thoughts here in the comments. What do you expect of yourself on a daily basis? Is it too much? Is it too little? Is it too much? Are you expecting yourself to do the work of 2 women, of 3 women? I've often said that I fully believe the world today expects women to have a family as if they don't have other responsibilities. And if they're working outside the home or inside the home, expects them to work like they don't have a family. And that's just absolutely silly, right? Oh, perfection, way too much with a newborn. Y'all, people ask me all the time, I have a 4-week-old baby or a 6-week-old baby or a 12-week-old baby. I need help. Like, how do I meal plan? How do I get my house in order? All that stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't waste that season of life trying to get your routines in order. Yes, those things are important, and there will be a season for that, but that newborn stage, girlfriend, put your feet up, hold that baby, and watch HGTV. That's my advice. That's what I did. Don't waste it trying to get it all together. Yes, routines and rhythms will happen during that stage, and you will reach a season during that where you are able to put those together. But if you have a newborn at home, put your feet up, accept some help, take care of you, because your heart and your body is going through a lot. Okay. To be more patient with my kids. I love the motto, grace not perfection. I'm always humbled when I'm reminded that God has forgiven me in his grace, yet I struggle to give myself the same grace. Yeah, if God is extending grace to us day after day after day, why in the world aren't we doing the same thing? Why are we trying so hard to reach something that is completely and totally unattainable? And we've been told, it's biblical, it's unattainable, right? So why do we push ourselves so hard? Man, I needed to say this out loud today to myself. I think a lot of this is self-inflicted, that every time you get somewhere, there's always more you could do and achieve. Oh, I have a team meeting in 9 minutes, but I have to address that. Yes, I am someone who runs on adrenaline. I love being busy. I love having many responsibilities. I love being pulled in 15 directions. My parents say I burn the candle at both ends, and I thrive on it. And I do. I love to be busy. When things slow down, and my team will even tell you this, when things slow down, I start looking around like, what do we need to do? Is there stuff we could do? What do we need to it's really, really, really hard to embrace the stillness and the slowness. And I, over the past year, have worked on this with myself, that there is never a finish line when you're an ambitious person or you're a perfectionist. We set that line and we say when I get to this spot, I'll be there and I'll be able to rest. Nope. You get there and you set another one and then another one and then another one. So at what point do we say, this is good enough? Is it okay? This is my third book. So much of this is my third book, and that's why I get really passionate about it. Is it okay to say, I want a life that is good, not great? Is good better than great? Is it okay to say that good is actually really sweet and slow and full of heart and legacy, and great is exhausting? I've lived both. And I, many times in the past year, have said, what if we embraced a life that looked different? What if we set aside the standards of perfection? What if we set aside what the world is telling us we have to do? What if we said, let's sit down and write down. I'm giving you permission to use the second half of page 10 for this, because I think it's important. What if you wrote down what good looked like? What a life full of grace looked like? Instead of this other life that we're all just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and racing and hurrying and losing sleep and stressing out and go, 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 go. My goodness, one day we're going to be 80 years old in rocking chairs on our front porches, and we're going to look back and be like, why was I in such a hurry? And where was I going? Right? So I got to get off this thing because I have I have a team meeting in 7 minutes, but I want to end this by saying, you don't have to have it all together. And yes, with this brand of ours, we talk so much about tips and tricks for accomplishing all the things. But at the end of the day, if you're not focused on the stuff that matters, we all will have missed the point, right? Those things are important. Meal planning and cleaning a home and homekeeping, all that stuff matters a ton. But at the end of the day, if you are just constantly pushing yourself and you're missing out on the stuff right in front of your face, those babies, those friends, that ministry that you're working on, those connections in your community, those people that you're serving, if you are missing out on the stuff that matters most, the rest of it has been done in vain. So you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to be perfect. I have loved this live even more than I thought I was going to. And I really want to look at what we're doing next week, but I'm going to not look at it because I think It's more fun to talk about this stuff off the cuff, so don't flip ahead, okay? A Standard of Grace has 52 undated weekly I keep saying devotions. It's not a devotional. It's a guided journal, but I really hope that you will do the whole thing this year and you'll join me for the next 3. And I'll see if I can, when I end this, if I can like save it somehow. But this has been fun. I hope you guys have an amazing Monday. And I'm going to go have a team meeting now to recap launch week. And I'm excited about that. Okay. Happy Monday. Bye.